eyes wide open. We're looking into these eerie encounters and the legends. Don't forget to subscribe and let's take a look.
So what can you tell us about the Dogman?
What do you want to know?
Just, kind of what is it?
It's flesh and blood. I know that.
Right.
More of them than you realize around. A lot of people think that they're mean, which I'm not saying some of them aren't, but they had many opportunities to take me out or hurt me, and they never did.
So you've seen one?
I've seen several. Check out the hands. We were fortunate or misfortunate, whatever you want to call it. Just the fear, your heart starts beating.
Yeah.
And you get up in there in the woods about 3 a.m. and you start seeing their silhouettes going between the trees, and you hear them growling. You can see he's in motion. That one is terrifying.
Question would be from Montgomery B. And she says, I don't understand why the government would breed these crazy demons. Why? They are evil. I think the reason why they may have bred them is to keep people from living in rural areas. If people live in the cities, they are easier to watch control. I don't know.
No, that's not the reason they was bred. The reason we bred these creatures was for military use. We was building forces with them. It was decided to trash their program 100%, call them in, euthanize them, and, do away with the Dogman program. The werewolf program was a success. It's done what it's done.
Well, first, really quick, a lot of people have been curious on what the difference between a Dogman and a werewolf is.
General description of the Dogman, on the average, male, they grow to about 7.5 to 8, just 8 foot. Range of weight anywhere from about 350 to maybe pushing 475, 500 pounds.
Are they in fact animal, or are they in fact a human race? And as time goes on, more and more ancient scholars started agreeing that they were in fact a human race that was just a hybrid, what they refer to as a monstrous race. And so my argument is that I don't actually even consider Dogman a cryptid creature anymore.
People who have these sightings truly experience something unexplainable. They saw something that they can't identify, something they can't quantify or put into rational terms. And when we start to theorize on that, we start at a baseline, which would be this is of flesh and blood. We know wolves, canids exist on our planet, and this looks like one. So therefore, we would theorize that this is one of those that's flesh and blood, but has extraordinary abilities to get up and walk, or is bigger for some reason. But when you start to play in the fact that we don't have a body, we've got all these sightings, then sightings dating way back, legends and everything. That's when people play in other theories like it must be more paranormal.
When it took that step and when it looked at me, it growled. Now, and don't get me wrong, all my windows were up and the heat was on, not blasting, like blown out, like, but just on like 2 because it was warm. But I heard that muffled growl through that glass. Deep. It was deep. It was a deep, deep chest growl. Loud enough that I heard it with all my windows up, and I felt that.
About the upright walking canid that bluff charged me, or however you want to say it. So the pin where that building is where the garden was at. So I had to come out here after dark to go turn off the water and everything else because we had let it run. I was standing about right here, and then right to the side of that trailer, other side of that fence, about 50 yards, is where I spotted it. The trailer and that equipment was not parked back there at that time. It was all open. That's whenever it decided to stand up, because I could catch a whiff of it. The wind was from the south, that's south. It stood up, it come straight at me, right to the fence line. I took a couple of steps towards it, dropped to one knee into a shooter stance and started opening up on it. It thrashed around a bit, then finally got its legs underneath it and took off straight that direction. About another 350 yards is an abandoned house with a building, barn, a bunch of other outbuildings around it. That's where it took off to. At the time, I did not have permission to be over on that part of the property that is owned by somebody else. So, not one of those things of I could go pursue it if I wanted to without trespassing. On the same time, if you've ever dealt with predator hunting, if you shoot a wild pig or a large cat or anything like that and it's wounded, that is not the time you want to go into the area that it just ran into.
I'll talk about my uncle. When he went back and sat on the corner of my grandfather's property, he was up in a tree stand, something growled at him. And it wasn't a coyote, it wasn't a bear, the growl was deep enough to the point where it was louder than any typical canine you would hear. It was louder than a bear. I've heard bears growl before. There's plenty of YouTube videos with them growling.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's the other fact that there was infrasound in that growl because he said he felt his insides vibrate.
So guys, to talk about right now, infrasound, there's only one known creature in the world that actually has infrasound, and that is a Bengal tiger. It uses it to stun or shock, almost like freeze its prey, so it can, set fear into it. So he's hearing something in upstate New York that has this, and I've actually heard this before as well when I lived down near Carthage, New York.
I live in the Smoky Mountains, near the Appalachian border, okay? In Kodak, Tennessee. It's 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I need you to know what I just saw in the woods, okay? So let's go. It's a regular night. Me and our daughter are sitting in our hot tub on our property, and she's on the phone with one of her friends, all right? Then I hear some leaves. Don't think anything about it, but we've got lots of critters and stuff running around, so I stand up over on the ledge of the hot tub to look over our privacy fence to shine the light. I have my shot pew in my left hand and my spotlight in my right hand. And I'm looking. Boom. See it. I say, Kaylin, get down right now. She gets off. She's standing in the hot tub. We're looking at this at the same time. I see this. Just one glowing green eye. Okay. Everything around it is completely distorted. You can't see the two privacy lights that are long ways on the other property behind it. You can't see the red tower in the background. You can't see anything, okay? Everything around it's completely distorted. So I'm shining the light on it constantly, thinking that eventually it'll move. I'll be able to tell what it is, okay? It does like this. And it's at this moment that I realize that whatever is watching us is intelligent and is watching us. Okay? So we keep looking, trying to figure out what's going on. I watched this thing. We both did go crash down like this. Okay? So now I can see like this instead of like this. From 4 legs and stand up and step around the tree from 4 legs to 2 legs. Okay? And then it starts like this, like stepping, like weird gait, okay? It's not moving quickly. It's still just me and it, and that's it, all right? Me and my daughter and this thing. Complete silence. There should be noise from it walking on the leaves, moving through the woods, nothing. We got the out of there so quick. I need to know if anybody has seen or experienced anything like this. I don't know how long that thing was watching us, but literally, just like this. And then it decides, okay, you're going to keep watching me, fine. No. And why? If I'm shining my light directly on you, all I can tell is that you go from 4 legs to 2 legs, but I can't see anything else. I can't tell if you're hairy. I can't tell what color you are. I can't make out any facial features. Just 2 glowing green eyes. That's it. Here's what's bothering me so bad about this encounter, okay? It saw me scanning the woods for a while. It could have completely hidden. It could have ducked down. It could have left. And I wouldn't have known anything. It chose to continue to let me see it like this. It chose when to reveal itself. And it still didn't turn. It didn't leave. It didn't do anything except for get bigger and move towards us. And the strides that this thing was taking to walk and move, I know for a fact it was at least 7 feet tall, but I'm serious when I say when it got big, I'm thinking it had to have been at least 8 or 9 feet tall and completely silent. Okay. And my husband saw something out there the other night, but it wasn't alone. But again, watching it move, no noise, no noise.
And light's eyes reflect without light.
And
the eyes reflect without light. It doesn't make sense.
Okay, that's my main concern. I don't want to give out exact location because I don't want somebody getting hurt going up there. I think it's still up there, personally, and it's been a long time, but I still think it's probably up there.
If you don't want to mention your friend, you don't need to mention your friend. If you say a friend was with you, you don't have to mention his name. However you want to do that, but I'll let you go from start to finish.
Okay, yeah, I didn't want to mention his name, but yeah, I wanted him to be a part of the story because he was part of the story. Like I said, he's still dealing with it right now. I mean, we didn't talk for years right after that because of that encounter.
Wow.
And yeah, and it took about 10 years for him to come back around because of what happened. Very disturbing.
So go ahead. I'll let you go ahead and start and just, again, mention if you could approximate year, the day, the season. All right. So whenever you're ready, just go ahead and start, and I'll let you go.
All right. Well, it was, I think the date was November 23rd, 2007. It was a Friday evening. My friend and I, after work, we decided we were going to Rowan County, to an area, to catfish. It was probably approximately 10 o'clock when we left. We were in a van. We got up there, and a gate was open that led us down beside the water. And the lake was up a little bit, so the lake was up a few feet. It was up kind of right almost to the gravel road that we were on. We got there, pulled up approximately, I'm going to say 10:45. I was the passenger. My friend was driving. I got out. I grabbed our chicken levers that we were using for bait for the catfish and 3 or 4 fishing poles. I got out of the van. I walked maybe 10 feet down, we were parked right on the water pretty much. I walked 10 feet and I opened got my fishing poles out. And my friend was sitting in the van using the interior light to tie a hook on one of his poles. And, it was right when we got there, and a couple trees came down. I'd say within 100 yards of us up the hill. Something had knocked a few trees down. It sounded like a bulldozer coming down the hill at us, and neither of us believed in Bigfoot or anything like that. We just it wasn't feasible. I wasn't afraid of the dark or anything like that. My friend's sitting in the van, and he said, "Listen, that's getting closer," and it was tearing up trees. Is the only way I can really explain it. I'm not talking about breaking limbs. This thing was like thrashing trees down as it came down this mountain. sorry. Yeah, it's hard going back into this. I tightened up my position a little closer to the van. The passenger side was aimed towards the hill where the noise, where this loud distraction was coming from. And it was getting, you could tell it was getting closer. And I said, well, maybe it's rutting deer, maybe it's possibly a black bear, taking something down. I didn't think whatever it was had no interest in us. And I was wrong. And then everything went deathly quiet. Everything shut up. Every bug, frog, every creature in the wild blue shut off. And the hair stood up on me. And I looked at my friend. I said, scoot over, let me in. And he said, no, go around. And then I heard a stick break maybe 20 yards away, but it was on the passenger side of the van. So I said, no. He popped the hatch, and I ran around to the back of the van, jumped in the back of the van, pulled the hatch down, climbed up through the van, got in the passenger seat. I dug around and found the mag light that we had brought with us. I held it up against the passenger window, and that was my biggest mistake. That's when I put the mag light with fresh batteries in its eyes at maybe 30 feet. There was a small ditch off to the side of the gravel. It went up about 10 more feet and a big oak tree. And what I saw was like something you'd see from a movie. And as a matter of fact, that's what we both thought it was. I actually spoke to it. It was close enough that I thought it was a animatronic mask. I had a friend that had done a horror movie that same year. Matter of fact, not too far from there. So I was thinking, well, maybe that film crew's up here and this is one of their creatures or something, So I thought, I'm okay. This is a prop. This is just some animatronic, creature. And I spoke to it, and the ears twisted around, very pointed ears, and they locked on me. I'm talking yellow eyes, very yellow, very unusual, very broad chest. There was a laurel thicket at the bottom of the oak tree that was approximately 10 foot wide. It was blocking this thing off at the waist. I could not see below its waist. All I could see was the thinning hair in the chest, where I could tell that it had a six-pack, big pecs, huge shoulders. And its hands actually hung below the thicket, below its waist. And one shoulder was behind the oak tree, and the rest of it, his complete face was, around the oak tree. My friend was a big guy. He's about 6'6", and it was a little bit bigger than he was. I'd say 6 inches or so bigger than he was, taller. I'm holding the light in its eyes, like I said. It's blinking, and it goes from a cold stare to a grimace, almost like an evil smile. And time stood still. My friend said, "Take the light out of its eyes real quick, and maybe it'll move, and we can see the bottom half of it." I couldn't bring myself to take the light off of it. We didn't have we didn't have a gun or anything like that with us. Yeah, the world stood still. This thing wasn't supposed to be there. We're talking about I'd never heard the term Dogman or heard about the Beast of Bray Road or any of the thing, the Dogman, Wolfman, Cryptid that has really made itself known the last 15 years. I'd say 3 or 4 minutes, and maybe I'm wrong on that, but it felt like at least 3 or 4 minutes I held that mag light in its eyes.
And my friend kept saying, take it off of it and back on it, and it'll move, and we can see the rest of it. Well, I finally did after 3 or 4 minutes. And as soon as I did that, it dropped. And it dropped in that laurel thicket that was about 10 foot wide, and it took that entire laurel thicket up. And when it did drop like that on all fours, now it went from 30 feet to 15 feet from us. And my friend put it in reverse, and we threw gravel and left all my gear, which was really expensive fishing gear, on the bank. And I don't think we said a word. And like I said, my friend and I didn't talk for, I think it was 3 or 4 years before we even saw each other to talk about it. And then he, just within the past year, has really come to terms with, accepting what it was. And kind of understanding, I kind of told him what to kind of look at the reports and whatnot. And now the creature that we saw, his ears kept bending back when I held the light in his eye, and it kept looking back up the hill behind it. So there may have been another. But I didn't lay eyes on it. I didn't want to see it. I saw this one. I didn't want to see that one that I saw. It totally changed the way I deal with reality from here on out. They are real. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this thing, I don't know. I've done 15 years of research on this thing. Everything that I've found, I've read every book and every podcast and every Dogman encounter story that I've been able to find. And there's one thing that all the real ones have in common. And I think I can discern the real ones from the people wanting attention. This is something that I didn't ask for. This is something I didn't want. And if I could take it back, I would. I didn't want to see that thing.
Can you describe the face?
I'll try. I've looked at a lot of these, so-called pictures and drawings and renditions and whatnot, and there are a few that resemble the one that we saw. Menacing is the overall. If it had a caption over its head, I'd say evil and menacing, but very not human-like at all. I mean, other than the fact that it's bipedal, there's nothing human about it. Other than it did have a chest and a torso and long, thick arms. The head was nothing human. Nowhere near it. If you crossed a human with a wolf, it's not going to look like this thing. This thing was very wolf-like in the face. Just something way different, way stronger. Like much more muscle in the face. Honestly, those werewolf movies are pretty accurate, to be honest with you. Like Underworld, that movie in particular, really, they hit the nail on the head, and a couple scenes in that movie is pretty accurate to what we saw. Like I said, that's what I thought it was at first. I thought, we've stumbled, upon them making a werewolf movie or something, and this is some kind of prop. But turns out that wasn't the case.
So it had a muzzle.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, a protruding muzzle, for sure. Yeah.
And could you see its teeth?
Absolutely. You could see its teeth the whole time, from the very beginning. And that's why at first, I thought it was some kind of mask, maybe. I'm sorry?
What did the teeth look like?
The teeth were, honestly, its eyes demanded all of your attention. It was hard. It was very difficult to pay attention to anything other than its eyes. The eyes of an animal like this, it's hard to give detail to anything else when you see something 30 feet away that looks like this. It's undescribable. It's ineffable. It is very... out of place. Very out of place.
Was the face covered in hair, or was there skin?
I guess it was hair. I guess that it was hair, except around the mouth. I don't really remember seeing hair like you would on a typical wolf. It was close to that. It just had a little more girth in the face. It had predator written all over it. It just really, it's a very hard thing to describe for me. I'm sorry that I can't really paint a good picture of it. But if you took a baboon's face and a wolf's face, and I don't know if you could mesh that up somehow. There weren't any bright colors or anything like that. It was very typical. It was a black with a gray highlights. Even in the chest. I remember some gray in the chest, and you could see its pecs. You could see a 6-pack. You could see that this thing was absolute, just in beast mode all the time. I don't think this thing transformed or anything like that.
You mentioned something about tufts of hair coming out the ears or the side of the face.
Yeah, out of the ears. I did remember that, and that was a detail that me and my friend had talked about recently, was the fact that it did have, almost like a lynx has hair coming out of its ears. It did have what seemed to be hair, and just because they were so pointy. Very, very tall ears. I'd say as big as your hand. I'd say the ears were as tall as a hand is.
And the ears were they on top of the head or the side of the head?
They were on the top. Very much wolf-like. Just without... Well, very wolf-like. It just, if you can imagine, maybe twice the size as far as the head goes. At least twice the size. I mean, I know the biggest grizzly bears only have like 4 or 5 inches between their eyes. And I can tell you that this thing's eyes were a little bit further than that apart. As far as the weight on this animal, I really, that would be hard to do, but I mean, I'm going to say it was 400 or 500 pounds easy. And it could have been heavier than that, but I don't know. I'm guessing because it was very lean. It was very upright and lean. To be showing a 6-pack is the reason I say that. Now, there was, you could see the 6-pack through the hair, which made it really unusual. Like I said, I never saw its back. But when it dropped to all fours and I shined through the laurel bush, it looked solid black. It looked like it was completely black. But when it stood up, you could see that even around the face there was gray features and highlights, silverish gray highlights throughout the face and the ears and chest even. I think my friend even remembered a scar on it, and but I'll be honest, I don't. I didn't remember that. The eyes, like I said, demanded my attention.
Were the eyes proportionate to the head, or would you say they're larger or smaller?
Very proportionate. I'd say, honestly, I would say, I don't know if it's because of the light, but they were very proportionate, maybe a little bit bigger than what you would think, and it may be because of the flashlights. I'm not for sure. But they were, if the flashlight made them seem bigger, but that amber, beer-colored eye is just really what sticks out the most. And it's like you could tell that it was very alert and intelligent critter. Yep, it's a spot that when I drive by, the hair stands up on my arms when I even pass by that entrance. It's a life-changing event when you see something like that. I'll tell you that. There's nothing like it. I think people are, wanting it to be real until they come face to face with it. Then I don't think anybody that's ever seen it would ever want to see another one.
Your friend, you're saying he won't talk about it now either, will he?
No.
He still lives in the area?
Yep. It took us years to deal with this, and before we brought it up again. And now it's become one of those things that, we'll have a meeting over it maybe once every couple years just to try to understand it. Yeah, it changed his life. I mean, the PTSD that he has now is as bad as mine. I can tell you that for a fact. He said, I'm afraid to even turn my headlights on because I know it's going to be there. I said, yeah, trust me, buddy. I know. I do know. That I do know. Because once you see one of these, it's not, you don't want to see it again. You do not.
Imagine.
And that's why Native Americans won't even talk about them. It's because they think that it brings them closer. And I can kind of agree with that.
Have you guys ever gone fishing here again?
No, absolutely not.
Halloween night, 1989. Dorstein Gibson was driving down the stretch of Bray Road. In a moment, she proceeded to change a CD when a loud thud hit her car. She believed that she had hit something. Upon pulling over to investigate, a large, tall, black figure covered in fur and illuminating eyes had approached. This figure charged at her. She rushed back into her car to put into gear. The creature then jumped on the top of the car, but had slid off following the acceleration of the vehicle and the wetness from the rain earlier that night. Dorstein and a trick-or-treater were driving down the road once more that night, only to find the creature, seeing it across, crouched in between some bushes, not too far from the inevitable sighting she had earlier. The creature was famously known as the Beast of Bray Road, a creature most popular by the late Linda Godfrey. And since Dorstein's sighting nearly 4 decades ago, over thousands of sightings have been brought to the forefront. Just what is the Beast of Bray Road? Supernatural, alien, or flesh and blood?
I was a country boy. I was never afraid of the dark, so going out and running down a country road at night didn't bother me at all. I left my house, it was probably a little after 9, and it had just gotten dark. But it was a very clear night. I mean, it was really clear, visibility was good. So I made it down the State Route 19, and I was on my way back. I got this weird feeling. It's this kind of feeling that something's wrong, there's something's watching you, and I didn't see anything. I didn't hear anything, I didn't see anything. As I was about to start running again, in the cornfield, I see the corn start moving. Whatever it was really big because a lot of corn was moving. I mean, a lot of corn was moving. And then all of a sudden it stopped. And I thought, wow, that's strange. And so I said, well, I'm going to get out of here. So I take off running. And when I took off running, whatever was in the corn takes off running too. But this thing started running with me. And when I say it started running with me, it was pacing me. And it kind of freaked me out, so I stopped. And when I stopped, it stopped. So I stood there, and as I stood there staring at the corn, I mean, not a single stalk moved. I mean, it was perfectly just still. And when I took off, it takes off simultaneously. And it's pacing me. And I start running faster, and it starts running faster. I realize this thing's stalking me. whatever's in the corn. When I get to Route 4 and I turn left to go home, I'm going to run right into it. I'm going to intersect with it. And one of my best friends who lived just down the road from me, he was to the right. So I made up my mind I was just going to stay on the road. And when I get to Route 4, I'm going to cut right and I'm going to run to his house. So I realized that as I'm going to get there, I'm going to run out of corn. So whatever's in this corn is going to come out before I actually get to Route 4. So I told myself, don't look. I'm coming to the end of the corn. And I looked. I couldn't help myself. I could not help myself. And that's when I saw it. This thing emerges from the corn, and it was about 6 feet tall because that's how tall the corn was. And it had the head of a dog, high pointed ears, and its shoulders were rolled and its arms were long. And I remember it just turned its head like this and looked at me. I saw its head, I saw the ears, and the only frame of reference that I had was it looked just like the Egyptian god Anubis. That's the best way I could describe it. It looked like anything like that. But I saw its torso, but when it turned and looked at me, it just looked like it had this massive chest. So I take off across Route 4. So I'm gunning it as fast as I can. This thing has dropped to all fours and is chasing me. As I'm getting closer to my buddy's house, I knew that they had an in-ground pool and they had a fence around it, chain link fence. So I jump and I throw my feet up like in the air, like the old Fallsbury flop high jump. I land in like a stumbling motion and I just dive headfirst into the pool. And I'm blowing out my breath and I'm going down and I can still feel it sliding out because the pool was 10 feet deep. And I'm sliding down. I blow all the air out and I get to the bottom and I somehow pinch my nose and I look up and I'm fully expecting to see this thing with the rolled shoulders and the dog head and the big chest sitting on the side of the pool. But it seemed like a long time I was on the bottom of the pool and I'm looking up and I don't see anything. So I'm like, oh, thank God. I climb up out of the pool and I run and I rip that door open. I slam the door and I remember screaming, turn the lights out, turn the lights out. And he has no idea what's going on. So we turn the lights out and I'm just looking out the windows thinking, is this thing out there?
I'm in my late 30s and I've lived in Tomahawk most of my life. I'm a small engine mechanic in a small shop in a small town, but that's about all that's small about me, as my kids like to say. I'm a big guy with a big personality and I don't scare easily. I spend most of my free time with my kids, though I've been working a lot of weekends this summer. Most days I fix ATVs, lawnmowers, wave runners, snowmobiles, and the occasional pickup. That day was nothing unusual. I closed up the shop, grabbed a gas station coffee, and decided to take the back way home for a little peace and quiet before stepping into a noisy house. The back road has always been my reset button. No stoplights, no tailgaters, just the trees pressing in on both sides. I figured it would give me 10 minutes to clear my head before the evening routine with the kids. I was driving down the road, had the windows down, and could hear the crickets outside. Nothing unusual. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I thought I saw something up ahead between the trees, like a large, dark, broad-shouldered figure, moving low to the ground, but just enough to stand out against the brush. I thought it might be a bear, or maybe even a moose, and wanted to try to get it on video for my kids. I eased off the gas and leaned forward for a better look, and had just hit record on my phone when it rose up out of the brush, and I realized it was definitely not a bear or a moose. It was about 30 yards in, but it stayed with me, level with the truck. Didn't bolt away, didn't run off, it kept pace, like it was walking along the edge for a reason. I let off the gas and eased the truck into reverse, one hand on the wheel, phone steady in the other. It was moving towards me, and then it threw its arms out wide. One motion, then again. Not frantic, not clumsy, deliberate. Like it was saying, plain as day, stay out of here. You can't see it as well in the video, but I swear, up close it looked like a giant wild dog, muzzle and all, and had to have been 7 or 8 feet tall at least. I couldn't believe my eyes. My gut was screaming. I lifted the phone and just started firing off shots through the brush. My hands were shaking. No idea what I was even catching, just click after click, while trying not to drive off the road. My chest started tightening, and suddenly all I wanted was to get out. I shoved the phone down, gripped the wheel, and tore off. That drive home was the longest 10 minutes of my life. Every shadow between the trees felt like it was about to jump out at me. I kept checking the rearview mirror like I expected it to be running behind me, keeping up without effort. My knuckles were white on the wheel the whole way, until I saw my own porch light. When I got home, I locked the doors, pulled the blinds, set the chain on the door. Stupid little things, but they made me feel better. It wasn't until later that night, sitting at my kitchen table, that I scrolled through the footage and saw I got those 2 decent photos, with the long arms clear as day. That whole night, I couldn't relax. I paced around the kitchen. I kept checking the security cameras like I expected to see it standing out in the yard. I tried watching TV just to distract myself, but every sound I heard outside made me mute it and listen. Even the dog, who usually barks at raccoons, stayed quiet like she wanted no part of it. I even left a light on in the hallway overnight, something I never do, just so the house didn't feel so dark. I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those arms spread wide. The next morning, I dragged myself into work half asleep. I thought about telling the guys at the shop, but small towns don't forget. I pictured the looks, the jokes, and I kept my mouth shut. All day I was jumpy. Loud tools, dropped wrenches. They made me flinch more than they should have. I didn't feel like myself, and it showed. I let the clip sit and just try to forget about it. But then a few days later, my cousin told me about something weird that was spotted 1 county over. Some huge creature that chased a guy, and they're calling it a legit Dogman sighting. He sent me links, and I ended up on this channel. So that was the turning point. I must have replayed my video 20 times that night. Each pause made my stomach turn. It's funny. I've been seeing people complaining in the comments section when footage is blurry or pixelated, but you don't know that's a blessing in disguise. This high-def footage showed more than I wanted to see. I'm not looking for attention. Don't want my name out there. I just wanted someone else to see it so I'd know I wasn't alone. Plus, if there's actually a Dogman running around, we need to join forces or something, or at least share information to keep our family safe. That's why I finally sent the clip in to you all.
I could see like a shadow pass my windows. You know, I didn't think a lot about it.
As you're driving up there?
As I'm driving. And then I look over again and I look at my mirror. I did notice a darkness in my windows, though, before I looked totally over and saw the head of a massive wolf running alongside of my truck looking in at me. And I had my windows down both sides. It was a nice day. And he's looking at me and he's grimacing at me and showing his teeth. And
so it's running alongside the truck with you while you're driving?
Yes.
Okay. So it's like literally as if somebody was trying to jump into the truck with you.
Yeah. He was clawing at my door and trying to pull the handle. The doors were locked, but the window was down. As he was looking at me and looking inside the cab, he brought his hand inside, just his hand. He has a hand and it looks like it's a huge raccoon hand, you know, and claws that are, you know, not nails, but like claws, like a raccoon, if you can imagine that. Just the size of my steering wheel hand, or close to it. and as he pulls away from it, I think he was maybe testing the glass, and I don't know. It just seemed that way, and it wasn't there, and he just pulled back.
So you're suggesting that what you're seeing had intelligence of what the truck was, how it operated, essentially.
Yeah, and I could tell he was flipping the door handle too, like and there was scratches on my door, and he ripped the rubber weather stripping on the top. And as he pulled his hand back, it kind of ripped it a little bit, and I had claw marks on my door. And so after that was happening, I just didn't know what was going on in my world. I'd never heard of a Dogman. I knew about werewolves, and that's what it looked like. And it had to be at least 10 feet tall, because I'm at 9 feet in that truck, and he is stooping over, bending down to look at me as he's running, and he's moving so slow. I mean, not so slow, but so it's not slow. What it is sleek and fluid,
like smooth,
that it was almost cat-like. And, and he was looking at everything in my truck, and his eyes were darting around and everything. And this is all happening within seconds. There's just a million things within seconds. And as I was looking at him, he had a look in his eyes that I assume that I don't know, but what I saw was not human and not an animal. Other than the outward look of a werewolf, in the eyes, it was supernatural, human looking intelligence going on in the eyes. And he had his tongue hanging out. He did have a scar on his snout. And his eyes were yellow, like a bright amber, solid black. He had a mane, sort of like a lion mane, but not quite as big, but down, what I could see at this point. I could just see his head and part of his hand at this time, this is all I could see at this point. And I'm still trying to get up this hill, and I can't go any faster.
It's a manual truck right now that you're driving?
This happened to be, I had just got in an automatic at this time. It's
one less thing you have to worry about in this moment.
I had just got in. I was in the stick trucks for that. Before that, I think I had that truck about 6 months.
Okay.
And I was still getting used to the automatics, because it's a whole different kind of, as too. But
and let me just, I don't know if this is relevant or not, but might be. Going uphill in an automatic truck with 41,000 pounds, you wish you had a manual at that moment, because you would be able to control the RPMs a lot more.
Yeah.
And so you probably had no control of even trying to go faster or downshifting, none of that.
Yeah, I don't know at that point. I don't even, where my head was at, I don't even know if I would even thought of it, because I was just in such a, I don't know, a state of, it was fear, of course, because this thing is trying to get in here or something and yank me out. I carry a gun with me always. I'm a concealed carrier for many, many years, and I didn't have my gun on me, because the gun I was carrying around at the time was that
right on the table.
It was kind of in summertime. That's hard to conceal.
Mm-hmm.
So I had that strapped on my seat.
So you had it strapped on your seat?
On my seat, right here. And I had a cooler on that side, so you couldn't see it.
Yeah.
And the cooler was too high for you to see it from that way or this way or any way. But I could grab it straight right here and pull it. And so I thought to myself, and I think God was with me in all of this, all the way through this to this day, and even before, always is. But I said, watch this. And I pulled it and, and shot twice faster than he could react. Cause I practiced and I'm pretty good,
Mm-hmm.
And, so when that happened, it went down.
So you pull this out, and this is a Colt 45, right?
It's Colt 45 and 410. It'll shoot.
You pull it out, and you point blank in the face, 2 shots.
2 shots. But I just pulled it as fast as I could pull it, shot 2 shots. And of course, I'm in a day cab and no ear protection, and my ears are ringing after that, It went down. And I believe I hit it in the eye. I believe I did, because it was kind of like, as I pulled it, I shot even before, I was thinking, watch this. And I wanted to do it before it could make a move. And I kind of shot once before I even looked. And then by the second shot, it looked like I was hitting him in the eye. He didn't even have time to react. It was so fast.
Hmm. So you think the first shot hit him in the eye?
I think so. I think the second shot did too.
Okay, gotcha.
I think both of them did.
Wow.
And I had solid copper 45 Colt rounds in it, and they were actually even more lethal than a normal bullet, because they were made especially to be that way, with the longer bullet that will fit in that cylinder of that particular firearm,
Yeah.
So that proved beyond a shadow of a doubt, if it can take 1,000-pound Dogman out, which I think it weighed about the size of a horse,
Jeez.
Because I could see the whole thing in my mirror, and I could tell it was a neurological hit, because you know how things get stiff and straighten out when they just, that's what it looked like as it was sliding into the weeds and all that on the shoulder there, and just plowing everything over, and all the debris was, it was kicking up, and it came to rest, and I could see the whole body, and it was a werewolf, like you would see on Van Helsing, is a man's torso, sort of a mishmash of man and wolf. The feet,
like a real hybrid.
Yeah, the feet look like, you would expect the werewolf type feet, with the backward hawk looking thing and knee, and the arms and the hands similar to a human, and the chest, and it had a tail. Say that probably I would say the tail was about 5 feet long, probably. Fluffy, long tail. Yeah.
We got down into the woods, and we went off into the pine side. Off in the pines, that was where the initial encounter happened. We didn't think anything would happen. Ryan yells over to me and Matt. He tells me, I think there's something watching us. We're looking around. We don't see anything. Well, the next thing you know, Matt looks at me and he said, "Hey, CJ, you smell that?" He said, "Get a whiff of that." It smells like wet dog and death. Like there is no foul odor we had smelled. Out of nowhere, Ryan tugs at my arm. He says, "CJ, look straight ahead." I'm looking dead ahead. At 100 yards, we see a shadow figure. We can't really make out what it is. It creeped me out to the point to where I bolted. So it left Matt and Ryan down there in the bottom. I was halfway to the house before I heard one of them scream. I turned around to go back to them. I grabbed Ryan and I told Matt to run. And we got up to the house and I asked Ryan, I said, "Ryan, what did you see?" Now this kid at 12 years old told me that this thing had actually stepped out of the shadows. And what he could see from barely 100 yards was a figure that stood at least 7 to 8 feet tall. And the hands on this thing, he said, it was almost double the size of him and Matt's head. And his arms were actually hanging about a little lower than his knees. I said, "Okay." I said, "What color eyes did you see?" He said they were amber yellow. I said, "Okay." At this point, I'm freaked. I'm totally freaked. I'm thinking this is a joke. Let's go in the house, Just calm down, get something to drink, something to eat, and we'll pretend it never happened. Later on that night, Matt went into the kitchen, wanted something to eat, and he spotted it standing right there about 30 feet away from the window. This thing had followed us back up to the house. They saw more of it than I did, because when I seen it for the first time, I was in the kitchen. This creature had yellow eyeshine. Its legs were somewhat bent, more so bent than straight. Its arms hung down right past its knees. I want to say it looked like he had long hair, but I couldn't make it out. So I'm standing in the kitchen with Matt. I'm freaked. Matt's freaked. We're not moving. This thing has its eyes set dead on us. Neither one of us say anything to Ryan, but Ryan happens to walk into the kitchen, and the look on his face said it all. This 12-year-old kid seeing this beast out in the woods, just yards from his house. None of us moved. I sat back. I backed up from the window. I took both of my hands, one to Matt, one to Ryan, and I backed him up slowly from the kitchen.
We had a noise come in by those oak trees that was just, it was, Tony, it was hideous, and it was a growl. And it was a growl, and it was so intense that it rattled the inside of my chest cavity. And it just was it was hideous, man. I mean, I've been on the farm, all my life, and I've seen all different kinds of farm animals. I've hunted bear, I've hunted deer, I've seen all kinds of different things. This was not a typical growl. I've heard bear growls. That's not what this was. And it was so intense that it did something to me, and I could tell that it was affecting my friend. And it rattled the inside of my body, and I began to notice that it caused my heart to speed up. And it was pumping, and I was getting really excited, but it was an uncomfortable feeling that I cannot describe. But it was like it affected my breathing rate. It was affecting how my heart, and I began to feel nauseous. I began to feel very sick to my stomach, and it became more intense. And then it was almost like I couldn't hear the growl, but I could still feel it inside of me. And it got terrifying. It was terrifying. That's when I felt like I was frozen, that I could not move. I could not move my legs. I couldn't turn around. I could see Harry beside of me, and he was in the same shape. And as a matter of fact, I noticed, and it must have been me as well, but when I looked at my friend, I could tell that he was slumped in his shoulders and was kind of looking straight down. And so all this is going on, and I could still hear objects and things around me. But if you've ever had what you call tunnel vision, and that's what I felt like I had tunnel vision. Things were sped up around me, but yet I was in slow-mo. I was just in slow motion and could not do anything. That's when I heard something come in on the trail beside of us. The same trail that I had used to walk in from my walk beside the creek. And the creek come up behind our camp. Well, there was something coming. I could hear the steps. To be honest, I felt something coming. It was a feeling that I cannot describe, and it felt like, hey, something is coming. And in the fire glow of the camp and in the lantern, which was adjacent to us, I could see movement. And I felt something, and I kept looking, and I'm looking, and I'm catching something walking in, and it is bipedal. And I guess the thoughts of, is this beast, is this man? I don't know what that it is. And as it begins to get closer, I see a bipedal canid type of wolf-like beast. 2 legs, and it's walking towards me. I can't move. I can't use my legs. I can't use my arms.
this intense feeling. I'm almost can't breathe. It has sped my rate of breathing up like I had run a race. And this thing's getting closer to me. And as it gets closer to me, I notice the ears on it are erect and they're like pointed towards me, and it's staying outside the glow of the fire, but it's getting closer and backing away, coming back, going back and forth, and it's pacing left and right. And then it walks in. And as it walks in, I can see this thing sniffing the air. And it's almost as if it's sniffing me. And I look back now, I wonder if it was trying to sniff fear. And then it grins at me. This thing exposes its teeth.
If you're ever walking alone at night and you hear footsteps behind you, but they sound too heavy for a dog and too fast for a human, keep walking. You might have met the Dogman.
Star Emergency. This is Kyle speaking. How can I help you? Hello?
Something just ran in front of us on the road. We're in the ditch. We rolled over.
How many people are in the car, and is anyone injured?
There's two of us. I don't think we have any injuries.
Is the car on its top or wheels or what?
No, it's kind of sitting on its side.
Hold one moment, please, while I contact emergency services.
Okay.
Okay, the state police should be on their way in a few minutes. Is everyone still okay?
Yeah, I think we're okay.
What ran in front of you? A deer?
I don't know what that was, but it was big. It looked like a great big dog. Standing up.
Was it a bear, maybe?
Maybe. Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Sir? Hello?
Don't forget to subscribe and like. And as always, stay safe, stay aware, and question everything.